Chosen one, freeze right there. Before you send that long paragraph defending yourself, before you try to explain your actions to people who are actively committed to misunderstanding you, I need you to stop. This is not the time for explanations or justifications. The burden of trying to prove your worth to others is not your fight to carry. You are not crazy. Your intuition is not mistaken, and the weight you feel in your stomach when the atmosphere shifts around you, when the conversation changes abruptly, is not a coincidence. That heavy feeling is the Holy Spirit revealing to you something that others thought they had successfully hidden from you. God has just allowed you to hear the echo of a conversation meant to be secret. And now you know the truth. But let me tell you this, chosen one. God revealed this not to cause chaos, but to help you avoid the trap the enemy is setting for you. The trap is not in what they said about you. It is in how they expect you to respond. They expect you to react, to defend yourself, to rise to the bait. But this is the moment where God is calling you to do something different. Do not react. Build a fortress of absolute silence. In this silence, you will find your power. The moment you decide to speak out, to lash out in defense of your name, you step into the enemy's plan. Their whispers are designed to provoke your pride, and if you bite, if you speak, if you defend yourself, you lose your divine protection. God is calling you to remain silent. This is not weakness, this is strength. This is the kind of silence that allows God to take control and handle what you cannot. You see, the chosen one, the real test here is not about how you handle the betrayal. The test is how you handle your own ego. Can you survive being entirely misunderstood and painted as the villain in their story without defending yourself? Can you hold the truth in your hands and stay silent when the world is demanding you explain, apologize, and prove yourself? In moments like this, the battle is not just about the injustice they've done to you, but about what is rising in your own heart. The desire to be right, the need to defend your reputation, the impulse to speak and correct the wrongs. But God is teaching you something profound. The moment you open your mouth to defend yourself, you step out of the divine frequency of peace and into a frequency of human striving, anger, and anxiety. This is exactly where the enemy wants you to be. When you're angry, when you're fighting for your own name, you disconnect from the divine presence that was guiding you in the silence. And when you step out of that divine frequency, you lose the spiritual cover that God has placed over you. This is the enemy's legal trap. Get you to defend yourself, and God steps back from fighting your battle for you. But when you stay silent, when you let God be your defender, you remain aligned with divine peace, and you allow God to take over the situation. This is not just about controlling your mouth, it's about controlling your spirit. It's about choosing obedience over your desire to be right. The enemy wants you to react, to lower your vibration to meet theirs. But God wants you to rise above, to stay anchored in the divine frequency of peace and trust. This is the path that leads to true vindication, the path where God fights your battles and rewards you for your obedience. The silence is not the absence of action. It is the deepest form of spiritual action. In this moment, you are being called to trust God like never before. You don't have to explain, you don't have to prove anything to anyone. Your silence is the most powerful weapon you can wield right now. God has seen everything. He has heard every word spoken in secret, and He will expose the truth in His perfect time. But first, you must surrender your desire to fight. You must let go of your need to defend yourself and trust that God will fight for you. This is not a passive call. This is a call to spiritual maturity, to a level of trust that transcends human understanding. It's time to rise above the chaos and stand firm in the peace that only God can provide. Stay with me, chosen one. I'm about to show you exactly how to remain silent in the face of betrayal, how to navigate this spiritual warfare without losing your peace or your connection with God. This is your moment to let go and trust that God is about to fight for you in ways that you could never imagine. Let's take this journey together. You have just stepped into the heart of the battle, the moment where the enemy's strategy is laid bare before you. The first key to navigating this spiritual warfare is understanding the trap that has been set for you. The trap isn't always what it seems on the surface, and it's easy to get distracted by the obvious signs of betrayal and injustice. But this is where the real battle takes place, deep within your spirit. The enemy knows you're strong. He knows you've been tested, forged through trials, and emerged more resilient than ever. So, instead of launching a frontal attack, he aims to undermine you by using the one thing that could easily trigger your reaction: your ego. The trap is not in the words they speak behind your back. It's not in the lies they tell or the secrets they think they can keep. The trap is in how you will respond. Will you defend yourself? Will you rise to the bait and start fighting for your name? That's exactly what the enemy wants. He's counting on you to react, to step out of the divine frequency of peace and into the realm of human striving and anxiety. This is the moment where you must decide. Will you allow the enemy to control your emotions? Or will you rise above and trust God to handle your battles? As you walk into that room, there's a weight in your stomach. The air shifts, and the conversation that was once light and casual now takes on a darker tone. They change the subject abruptly, but you catch the tail end of something. A whispered conversation that wasn't meant to be heard. You feel it in your gut, that heavy drop, the sinking feeling that something is wrong. It's as though the ground beneath you has shifted, and you've been pulled into a world where the truth is being exposed. The betrayal, the deceit, it's all there, hidden beneath the surface, but now revealed to you. What was supposed to stay in the shadows has come to light, and you feel the sting of it. You're shaken, unsettled, and hurt. How could they speak about you this way? How could they betray you, someone who has given so much? The injustice of it all feels suffocating, and the urge to speak up, to defend yourself, to tell them exactly what you know, is overwhelming. But this is where the spiritual test begins. God has just opened your eyes, allowing you to see what was hidden, to hear what was meant to be kept in the dark. This exposure is not a mistake. It is not a random occurrence. This moment of revelation is a holy intervention. It's God allowing you to hear the truth, not so that you can fight back, but so that you can make a choice. Will you trust Him to handle the situation, or will you step into the trap and lose your peace? When God exposes the whispers of betrayal, it is an act of divine intervention. He doesn't reveal the truth to cause chaos or bring more pain. He reveals it so that you can make an informed choice about how to move forward. God has given you the wisdom to recognize that what is happening is not about the people involved, but about your heart. It's about your ability to rise above the pain, the temptation to react, and instead to stay anchored in His peace. God has allowed you to hear their whispers for a reason. He has shown you the betrayal, not to wound you, but to prepare you for what's next. In this moment, you are being called to step into a higher level of spiritual maturity. God is exposing the situation, not to make you a victim, but to empower you to walk through it with grace and strength. You're not meant to fight back with words or actions. You are meant to remain silent, to refuse to engage in the drama that the enemy is trying to create. By staying silent, by choosing peace over retaliation, you allow God to take control of the situation. You allow Him to be your defender, your protector, and your vindicator. But there's one critical aspect to understand here. The trap is not in the words they've spoken. The trap is in your reaction to those words. The enemy wants you to respond. He wants you to feel the need to explain yourself, to defend your actions, to justify your choices. But God is asking you to do something radical, something that will shift the spiritual atmosphere in your life. He is asking you to stay silent. He is asking you to choose peace over pride, to choose obedience over self-justification. In this moment, the real test is not about the betrayal you've just witnessed. It's about how you will respond to it. Will you let their words trigger your ego and drag you into a battle that you were never meant to fight? Or will you let God fight for you, trusting that He has already seen the truth and that He will vindicate you in His perfect timing? The enemy's plan is to provoke you, to pull you out of alignment with God's peace, and to get you to react in anger, frustration, or defensiveness. But God's plan is different. His plan is for you to remain rooted in peace, to let your silence speak louder than any words you could say. You are being called to rise above the chaos, to hold your peace, and to trust that God is handling everything behind the scenes. The real victory is not in how loud you can scream or how many people you can convince of your truth. The real victory is in your ability to stay silent, to let God handle the situation, and to trust that He will bring everything to light in due time. This is the spiritual battle that you are facing. And this is the moment where you get to decide which path you will take. The path of the ego, filled with pride and defense, or the path of peace, filled with trust in God's justice. So, take a deep breath, chosen one, and recognize the trap for what it is. It's not about the betrayal, it's about how you respond to it. Will you rise above the noise, stay anchored in peace, and trust God to take care of the rest? Will you let His justice reign? Or will you step into the chaos and lose your peace? This is the moment that will define your journey, the moment that will determine your spiritual maturity. Choose wisely and let God fight your battles. Stay silent and watch as He turns your silence into victory. In the aftermath of betrayal, when the air feels thick with the sting of injustice, the most powerful weapon you have at your disposal may surprise you. Silence. The chosen one is often faced with the overwhelming urge to defend themselves, to rise up and speak the truth, to expose the lies and clear their name. But in that moment, when everything inside you is screaming to speak out, God is calling you to do something radically different. He is calling you to silence. This is not a silence born of weakness or fear, but one that is deeply intentional, filled with the strength to resist the pull of human instinct. It is the silence of trust, the silence of faith, and the silence of a heart that knows the battle is not yours to fight. Silence, in this context, is not passive. It is an active decision to refrain from reacting, to hold steady in the face of betrayal, and to place your trust fully in God's hands. The enemy wants to provoke you, to pull you into a battle that will drain your energy and derail your focus. He wants you to fight back, to defend your name and your honor, to speak out in anger and frustration. But God's way is different. He calls you to remain still, to stay rooted in peace, and to trust that He is handling the situation for you. This silence is not about keeping quiet for the sake of it. It is about surrendering your need to control the narrative and trusting God to take care of the rest. In that silence, you will find a profound peace that transcends the hurt and confusion you may feel. It is in that silence that you allow God to work on your behalf, to bring justice in a way that far exceeds what you could achieve by fighting for yourself. The real challenge here, however, lies in the test of ego. Betrayal, especially when it comes from those we trust, has a way of stirring up our deepest insecurities and pride. The temptation to defend ourselves, to prove our innocence, to show the world that we were right and they were wrong, is strong. But God is not only measuring how you handle the betrayal itself. He is measuring how you handle your ego. This is the real test, the one that goes deeper than the surface hurt and disappointment. The enemy wants to drag you into the mud of ego, to get you to fight for your reputation and self-image, to get you to protect your pride and prove your worth to others. But God is asking you to lay down your pride, to let go of the need to vindicate yourself. The truth is, the more you fight for your name, the more you lose sight of what truly matters. When you engage in the battle of defending yourself, you step away from God's divine protection and into a place of human striving. You move from the frequency of peace into the frequency of anxiety and frustration. And once you are there, the enemy has succeeded in pulling you away from the divine flow. God is not measuring how loudly you can shout your truth, how many people you can convince of your innocence, or how many ways you can prove your worth. He is measuring your ability to stay silent, to trust that He will fight for you, and to let go of your ego. This is the true test of spiritual maturity. The ability to endure being misunderstood, to endure being falsely accused, and to remain steadfast without the need to defend yourself. God is refining your character in this moment. He is teaching you that your worth does not come from the approval of others or from defending your name. Your worth comes from your identity in Christ, from knowing that you are chosen, loved, and protected by God Himself. Your ego does not need to be validated by people. It is already affirmed by God. The call for silence is not a suggestion. It is a spiritual command. God is not asking you to remain silent out of fear or passivity. He is asking you to remain silent because it is in that silence that you will find the power to walk through the storm without being moved. This is the spiritual instruction that will carry you through this season of betrayal. Do not defend yourself. Do not try to explain yourself. Do not engage in the fight that the enemy is setting up for you. Instead, trust that God is handling it all. He has already seen the truth, and He will expose it in His perfect timing. This is where true spiritual strength lies, in the ability to remain silent when the world expects you to speak. To trust that God is your defender, and to let Him handle the situation. The enemy's greatest weapon is often our own need to be right, our pride, and our desire for vindication. But God's way is different. He calls us to lay down our weapons, to cease striving, and to trust that He will fight for us. In that silence, God moves. In that stillness, He works. And in that quiet place, He will bring forth the justice and vindication that you seek, not on your timeline, but on His. The story of King David offers a powerful biblical example of this principle. When David was betrayed by Ahithophel, one of his most trusted counselors, he found himself in a position that mirrored the feeling of betrayal that many of us experience. Ahithophel was not just an advisor. He was a close friend, someone who had shared meals with David, someone who had prayed with him. Yet, when David's time came for elevation, Ahithophel turned on him and sided with a rebellion against David's throne. This act of betrayal was not from an enemy soldier, but from someone who had been trusted, someone who was close. And yet, David did not react with anger or fight back. He didn't launch an attack on Ahithophel. Instead, he trusted God to handle the situation, knowing that God would bring justice in his time. David understood that when betrayal comes from a trusted source, it is a sign that the enemy knows a frontal attack will not work on you. The enemy will use familiar faces to bypass your armor. He knows that you are strong enough to face the battle head-on, so he uses your relationships to weaken you. But God allows this exposure for a reason. He is revealing the true colors of those around you, not to hurt you, but to help you let go of the people who are secretly hindering your progress. Like David, the challenge is not in how you handle the betrayal. It is in how you handle your own ego and pride. God allowed David to see the betrayal, not to bring him down, but to raise him up to a higher level of trust and reliance on God's justice. This is the same call for you today. When betrayal comes from the ones you trust, do not react. Do not defend yourself. Let God fight for you. He has already seen the truth, and he will bring justice in his perfect timing. Trust him. Let go of the need to explain yourself, and let God handle the battle for you. When faced with betrayal, especially from someone you trust, the natural impulse is to defend yourself. You want to clear your name, expose the truth, and show everyone the injustice you've endured. It feels right. You feel justified, and your heart cries out for vindication. But what if, in the very act of defending yourself, you are stepping into the enemy's trap? The enemy knows that the greatest weakness we carry is our pride. And he also knows that if he can get you to defend yourself, to argue your point, to try and justify your actions, you will be pulled out of alignment with God's perfect peace. This is the spiritual trap the enemy is setting for you. The trap is not just in the words spoken against you. It is in how you respond to them. The danger lies in stepping out of the divine frequency of peace and into the human realm of argument and self-defense. The moment you open your mouth to defend yourself, you step into a battle that was never yours to fight. God did not call you to fight your own battles in this way. When you defend yourself, when you try to argue, to convince, to prove your innocence, you are entering a human battle of words, emotions, and frustrations. The problem is that these battles are fought in a frequency of survival, a frequency filled with anger, pride, and striving. You may not realize it, but the moment you begin to defend yourself, you disconnect from the divine protection that God has placed over you. You step into the battlefield of the mind, where the enemy's whispers grow louder and where your peace begins to fade. This is the spiritual legal trap. The enemy is trying to get you to fight on his turf, but God is calling you to stand in his peace. He wants you to hold your ground in silence, to trust that he is your defender and that he will fight for you. In Exodus 14:14, we are reminded of a powerful spiritual principle. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. This scripture is not just a nice sentiment. It is a command, a divine invitation to rest in God's protection and trust him to fight the battle for you. In the context of this verse, the Israelites were trapped between the Red Sea and the Egyptian army, facing a situation where there seemed to be no way out. It was a moment of betrayal, a moment of despair. And yet, God commanded them to stay still. The temptation, of course, would have been to scramble, to react, to take matters into their own hands. But God knew that the only way for them to experience deliverance was by letting go and allowing Him to fight on their behalf. This is the same for you, chosen one. The moment you choose to defend yourself, you are stepping out of that place of trust. You are stepping away from God's divine protection. But when you remain silent, when you choose peace over self-defense, God steps in. He fights for you. The spiritual trap of defending yourself lies in the shift of your frequency. You may not immediately realize it, but when you respond in anger or frustration, when you feel the need to argue, your brain shifts into what is known as the beta state. The beta state is the frequency of survival, the frequency of stress and anxiety. It is a state where your mind is flooded with cortisol, the hormone of fight or flight, and you are disconnected from the divine wisdom and peace that God has for you. In the beta state, you are in constant reaction mode, constantly seeking to protect yourself, to prove your point, to fight for your reputation. This is where the enemy wants you to be. The enemy thrives in this state because when you are in the beta state, you cannot hear the whispers of the Holy Spirit. You are disconnected from divine guidance, and you are left to fight your battles with your own strength. But there is a higher frequency that God is calling you to. It is the frequency of peace, the frequency of divine wisdom and guidance. This is the theta state. In the theta state, your mind is at peace, your heart is aligned with God's will, and you are able to receive divine insight. In this state, you are no longer reacting to the enemy's whispers, because your focus is on God. You are aligned with His will, and His peace guards your heart and mind. The enemy cannot reach you in this state. The whispers of betrayal, the gossip, and the lies that others speak against you become irrelevant because you are operating in a completely different bandwidth. This is why silence is so powerful. When you remain silent in the face of betrayal, you are choosing to stay anchored in the divine frequency of peace. You are choosing to trust God to fight for you. And in that silence, you are giving God the space to move on your behalf. Silence is not just the absence of words, it is the presence of peace. It is the active decision to trust that God is handling the situation, even when you cannot see the outcome. It is the choice to let go of your need to defend yourself, to prove your innocence, and to be justified. Silence, in this sense, is an act of surrender. It is the surrender of your pride, your ego, and your desire for vindication. And in that surrender, you find the peace that surpasses all understanding. It is in the silence that you are most aligned with God's will, most in tune with His voice, and most protected by His divine covering. When you are silent, you are no longer in survival mode. You are operating in a divine state, a state where God can move freely and where His protection is assured. The truth is, the enemy's whispers will always try to pull you out of the divine frequency. He will use anger, frustration, and the desire to be right to distract you from God's peace. But when you choose to remain silent, you are saying no to the enemy's tactics. You are choosing to stay connected to God's wisdom and peace, even in the face of betrayal. And in doing so, you create an impenetrable shield of protection around yourself. The enemy can't reach you in the theta state. He can't touch you in the divine frequency. And while others may try to provoke you, to get you to fight, your silence will be your strength. It will be your declaration that you trust God to fight for you. You don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to explain your actions. God sees the truth, and He will bring it to light. So, choose peace, chosen one. Choose silence. And in that silence, you will find the power to resist the enemy's whispers and remain firmly anchored in God's divine protection. This is the path to victory, the path of trust, the path of divine peace. Silence, as powerful as it is, can sometimes feel fragile in the face of ongoing spiritual warfare. While choosing to remain silent and trusting God to handle the battle is essential, you might find that without an anchor, it can be difficult to maintain that peace amidst the storm.
The world around you is filled with noise, whispers of betrayal, gossip, and lies. And while you are trying to stay in alignment with God's divine peace, you may feel the pull of those distractions, the temptation to react, or the unsettling thoughts that seek to disturb your spirit. In these moments, silence alone isn't always enough to keep you grounded. You need something more, something that will firmly anchor you in the divine frequency of peace, something that will recalibrate your mind and spirit so you remain connected to God's protection and guidance. This is where the need for an anchor becomes vital. You cannot rely solely on your own willpower to maintain peace. The human mind, especially in times of stress or spiritual attack, has a tendency to drift, to shift into survival mode, to react to what is happening in the physical world around you. And while silence helps you resist the temptation to engage with the enemy's tactics, an anchor is what will keep you from drifting back into anxiety, frustration, and anger. You need something that will pull you back into alignment with God's peace every time the world tries to shake you. That anchor exists, and it comes in the form of a tool that has been divinely designed to help you stay locked into the theta frequency, the genius wave. The genius wave is a specific frequency tool that has been developed to help recalibrate your brain and lock it into the divine state of peace. This tool works by using sound frequencies to guide your brain waves into the theta state, a state of deep peace, intuition, and spiritual insight. When you listen to the genius wave for just 7 minutes a day, it helps bring your mind back into alignment with God's frequency. You may wonder, why sound? Why frequency? The answer is simple. Frequency is the language of the spirit. Everything in this universe operates on a frequency, from the tiniest atom to the vast expanse of the cosmos. Our thoughts, our emotions, and our spiritual states are all affected by the frequencies around us. In the same way that music can uplift your spirit or calm your mind, certain sound frequencies can shift your brainwaves into the divine state of peace, where you are no longer influenced by the turmoil around you. This is not just a theoretical concept. It's backed by both spiritual understanding and scientific research. Science has long studied the impact of sound on the brain, and research funded by NASA has confirmed what mystics and prophets have known for centuries. Specific frequencies can change your brainwaves, alter your mood, and bring you into alignment with a higher state of consciousness. The genius wave uses this sound technology to help you enter the theta state, the frequency where divine communication happens, where peace reigns, and where the whispers of the enemy cannot reach you. In the theta state, you are not reacting from a place of anxiety, anger, or fear. Instead, you are living in a place of spiritual clarity and deep inner peace. This is where God speaks to you most clearly, where you receive His guidance, and where you are most protected from spiritual attacks. The genius wave is not just some mystical or abstract concept. It is a practical tool that you can use every day to maintain your peace and shield yourself from the negative effects of gossip, betrayal, and spiritual attacks. The enemy wants you to operate in the beta state, the frequency of survival, where your mind is filled with stress, anxiety,
and the urge to fight.
But the genius wave helps you shift into the theta state, where you are grounded in peace and operating from a place of divine protection. It helps you tune out the distractions, the lies, and the chaos, and tune into God's divine frequency. By incorporating this tool into your daily routine, you will find that your mind becomes anchored in peace, no matter what is happening around you. You will be able to withstand the enemy's attacks, remain calm in the face of betrayal, and trust God to fight your battles for you. This tool is a game changer, chosen one. It's not just about silencing your reactions or trying to suppress your feelings. It's about allowing God to recalibrate your mind and spirit so that you can live from a place of spiritual strength. It's about giving your mind the space it needs to receive divine insight and guidance, without the interference of anxiety or anger. The genius wave is your spiritual shield, the anchor that keeps you steady in the midst of spiritual warfare. But it requires an action plan. You need to commit to using it consistently, to making it a daily practice. This is not a one-time fix, but a long-term solution to maintaining divine peace. You cannot afford to let the enemy's whispers pull you back into chaos. You must take action now to shield yourself, to protect your mind, and to stay locked into the frequency of divine peace. So, how do you begin? It's simple. Set aside just 7 minutes each day to listen to the genius wave. Find a quiet space, close your eyes, and allow the sound frequencies to wash over you. Let them guide your brain into the theta state, where divine peace and insight are waiting for you. As you listen, allow your mind to release the anxiety, the anger, the frustration, and the confusion. Let go of the need to defend yourself, to fight for your reputation, or to explain yourself to those who have misunderstood you. Allow the peace of God to fill you up completely. With every breath, you will feel your spirit becoming more anchored, more connected to God's presence. You will feel the whispers of betrayal and gossip fading away, and in their place, you will experience the clarity and peace that only God can provide. This is your action plan, chosen one. This is the tool that will help you stay in alignment with God's frequency and shield yourself from the attacks of the enemy. The genius wave is not just a tool, it is a divine gift. It is God's way of helping you remain steadfast, strong, and peaceful in the face of adversity. It is your spiritual weapon in a world that constantly tries to pull you out of alignment with peace. By embracing this tool, you are taking an active step towards spiritual victory. You are choosing to stay grounded in peace, to let God fight for you, and to trust that He is guiding you every step of the way. The enemy may try to distract you, to pull you into the chaos, but with the genius wave, you have the power to stay in the divine frequency of peace. You are not alone in this battle. God has equipped you with everything you need to walk in peace and victory. And this tool is a key part of that divine strategy. Embrace it, use it daily, and watch as your life transforms into a place of divine calm and unshakable peace. Once you've locked into the divine frequency of peace, chosen one, you might think the battle is over. You've made it through the worst of the spiritual warfare, and now you're operating at a higher level of spiritual clarity and calm. You've chosen silence, you've resisted the enemy's trap, and you're walking in the peace of God. But here's the truth. The enemy won't just give up. When you begin to operate in divine peace, the enemy will try to disrupt it. He will try to provoke you, pull you out of alignment, and force you to react. This is where you need to be prepared for the spiritual counterattacks that are coming your way. These attacks are designed to trigger your emotions, to pull you back into the drama,
and to get you to engage in the battle that you've already surrendered to God. But God has equipped you with the knowledge and the tools to withstand these attacks, and it's time to learn how to apply them. The first spiritual counterattack you will face is the flying monkey. The enemy knows that you are strong, and he knows that a direct attack on you won't work. So he uses other people, those who are close to you, those who appear to be neutral or even supportive. The flying monkey is someone who pretends to be on your side, someone who seems to be a friend or ally, but in reality, they are working for the enemy. Their mission is to provoke you, to get you to engage in conversation, and to drag you into the conflict. This person will come to you under the guise of concern or support, but their true intention is to stir the pot, to get you to react, to get you to defend yourself once again. They may ask you how you're doing, or they may make seemingly innocent comments that subtly poke at your emotions. The goal is not to help you, but to destabilize your peace and cause you to lower your guard. But here's the key. When the flying monkey approaches, you must apply strategic deafness. This means that you do not engage, you do not answer, and you certainly do not react. You choose to stay silent, to tune out their words, and to maintain your peace. This is not a weakness. This is spiritual strength. By remaining silent, you deny the enemy the power to control your emotions and manipulate your response. The flying monkey is sent to test your resolve, but when you choose silence, you pass the test. You refuse to let the enemy use someone else to provoke you. The second counterattack is the triggering post. In the age of social media, this is one of the most common ways the enemy tries to provoke you. A passive-aggressive post will appear on your feed, maybe from someone you know, maybe from someone who has no idea what they're doing. But the message is clear. It's designed to get a reaction from you. The post may be a vague statement, a quote, or a status update that seems unrelated, but is, in fact, directed at you. It may reference something that happened in your life, something that you've been hurt by, or something that touches on the very issues you've been dealing with. The goal is to trigger an emotional response, to get you to engage in an argument, to pull you back into the drama. But you, chosen one, must apply strategic deafness again. The enemy is using social media to manipulate your emotions, to pull you back into a toxic space. The key here is to mentally scroll past it. Don't give it your attention. Don't let it invade your peace. And certainly don't allow it to dictate your mood or behavior. The moment you respond to the triggering post, you step out of the peace you've worked so hard to maintain. You allow the enemy to use that post as a doorway to pull you into a conversation, a fight, a cycle of explaining yourself. Instead, you choose to let it go. You refuse to let a few words on a screen pull you out of alignment with God's peace. When you scroll past the post, you not only deny the enemy his victory, but you also reinforce your own spiritual strength. You are not defined by the opinions of others, and you will not let their words dictate your peace. You are anchored in something far greater than the noise of the world. The third counterattack is the false apology. This is one of the most insidious attacks the enemy uses to pull you into confusion and self-doubt. The false apology usually comes in the form of a message, a text, or a conversation, where someone pretends to apologize for their actions, but in reality, they are not truly sorry. They may say things like, "I'm sorry if you felt hurt," or "I didn't mean to upset you, but..." And then they go on to explain their side, justifying their actions. The goal here is not reconciliation or healing, but manipulation. The enemy is using the false apology to pull you into a cycle of explaining yourself, to get you to rehash the conflict and defend your feelings. It's designed to keep you stuck in the past, to prevent you from moving forward in peace. But the response you need to give to the false apology is strategic deafness. You do not need to engage in the cycle of explanation. You do not owe anyone an explanation for your feelings, especially when they have already proven themselves untrustworthy. A true apology requires humility, acknowledgement of wrongdoing, and a willingness to make things right. A false apology, on the other hand, is designed to absolve the other person of responsibility while leaving you with the emotional burden. So, when you receive a false apology, do not respond. Leave the message unread. Leave the conversation unfinished. You are under no obligation to engage with someone who is not truly seeking reconciliation. The moment you begin to explain yourself, to defend your emotions, you allow the enemy to pull you back into the past. You allow the situation to drain your peace and your energy. But when you apply strategic deafness, you break the cycle. You release yourself from the need to justify your feelings and set a spiritual boundary that keeps you in peace. These spiritual counterattacks, whether the flying monkey, the triggering post, or the false apology, are designed to test your resolve, to pull you out of the divine frequency of peace, and to get you to engage in battles that have already been won. But God has given you the tools to resist these attacks. He has given you the wisdom to recognize the enemy's tactics and the strength to walk in peace. The key to defeating these counterattacks is not in reacting, not in engaging, but in maintaining your silence and trusting that God will fight for you. When you apply strategic deafness, you deny the enemy the power to manipulate your emotions and pull you into the chaos. You stay anchored in peace, and you let God take care of the rest. Remember, chosen one, your silence is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength. It is a weapon in the spiritual battle, a way of resisting the enemy's attacks and choosing to stay in alignment with God's peace. You are not fighting for victory. You are walking in victory. The enemy's counterattacks are just another sign that you are on the right path. Keep walking in peace, keep applying strategic deafness, and watch as God fights your battles for you. As you continue to walk in peace, chosen one, understand that these counterattacks are not just random acts of opposition. They are specific attempts by the enemy to derail your spiritual progress and keep you from the divine elevation God has for you. The enemy knows that the higher you rise in your spiritual journey, the stronger you become in God's truth, and the more aligned you are with His divine purpose. This is why he will target you with everything he has, trying to provoke you, trying to distract you, trying to make you question your peace and your path. These counterattacks, like the flying monkey, the triggering post, and the false apology, are all designed to draw you out of the peace you've worked so hard to maintain. But let me remind you, this peace, this divine stillness, is not something that can be easily shaken if you remain anchored in God's truth. When the flying monkey approaches, whether it's someone close to you or a seemingly neutral person, know this: their role in this moment is not to help you, but to provoke you. The enemy uses these people because he knows that, more often than not, it's not the direct confrontation that causes us the most pain. It's the manipulation from those we trust. But understand this, chosen one. When you encounter the flying monkey, you are not just facing a person. You are facing the enemy's attempt to stir the waters of your peace. The goal is simple. He wants to make you react, to get you to speak in defense of yourself, to lower your vibration into a place of frustration. But by applying strategic deafness, you deny the enemy his victory. You refuse to allow this person to become a conduit for the enemy's agenda. Instead of engaging, you choose peace. Instead of defending yourself, you choose silence. And in that silence, you regain control over your emotional state and stay aligned with God's purpose for your life. This is not just about avoiding conflict. This is about strengthening your ability to maintain peace despite the chaos the enemy tries to create around you. The triggering post is another common tactic used by the enemy to disturb your peace. Social media, for all its benefits, has become a battleground where the enemy will try to draw you into a cycle of negativity. A post, a comment, or a message will appear in your feed, seemingly innocent, yet designed to provoke you. Maybe it's a vague status about betrayal or a cryptic quote that hits too close to home. The enemy's purpose here is clear. He wants you to feel emotionally triggered, to react, to defend yourself in a public space where everyone can see. But here's the spiritual truth. The moment you engage, the enemy has succeeded in pulling you out of God's peace and into the arena of human reaction. He wants to keep you distracted and focused on the hurt and injustice. But when you choose to scroll past that post, when you refuse to give it the emotional energy it craves, you regain control. You are no longer responding to the enemy's manipulations. Instead, you are walking in spiritual maturity, choosing to guard your heart and mind from the attacks of the enemy. This act of scrolling past the triggering post is not passive. It is an active decision to maintain peace, to stay focused on God's will for your life, and to not let the noise of the world drag you back into a place of emotional turmoil. Then there's the false apology, the most insidious of the enemy's counterattacks. It's one thing when someone openly betrays you. It's painful, yes, but at least it's clear. But a false apology is designed to confuse, to trap you in a cycle of trying to make sense of things. It often comes in the form of a half-hearted apology that isn't really an apology at all. The person may say, "I'm sorry if you felt hurt," or "I didn't mean to hurt you, but..." These words are not meant to heal. They are meant to manipulate. The enemy wants to draw you into a debate, to get you to explain your feelings, to open old wounds, and to drag you into the cycle of explaining yourself. The goal is to keep you stuck, unable to move forward, constantly defending your emotional state. But the truth is, you do not owe anyone an explanation, especially not someone who is not genuinely seeking reconciliation. The false apology is a trap designed to keep you in the past, dwelling on hurt, on betrayal, on unresolved conflict. But you are called to move forward. You are called to let go of the need to explain yourself and walk in the peace that comes from knowing your truth is anchored in God's reality, not in the opinions of others. Strategic deafness is the weapon you wield against these counterattacks. It's a spiritual posture of strength, of focus, and of trust. By choosing to ignore the flying monkey, by scrolling past the triggering post, and by refusing to engage in the false apology, you are protecting your peace, your heart, and your mind. You are actively choosing to stay aligned with God's frequency, the frequency of peace, insight, and divine protection. This is not about burying your emotions or pretending the hurt doesn't exist. This is about recognizing that the enemy's tactics are designed to distract you from your higher calling. He wants to keep you stuck in the cycle of defense, in the realm of human emotion and reaction. But you, chosen one, are called to operate in a higher frequency. You are called to move in the divine flow of God's wisdom, peace, and love. When you apply strategic deafness, you refuse to allow the enemy to control your emotions. You refuse to engage in battles that are not yours to fight. And in doing so, you remain anchored in peace, in divine wisdom, and in the truth that God is fighting for you. Understand this. The counterattacks are not a sign of your weakness. They are a sign that you are on the right path. The enemy only retaliates when he knows that you are a threat, when he sees that you are moving forward in God's purpose for your life. Each time you apply strategic deafness, each time you choose peace over pride, you are winning a spiritual victory. You are advancing in your divine purpose, and the enemy cannot stop you. He will continue to try to provoke you, to throw distractions your way. But as you stay anchored in God's peace, you will remain untouchable. So, when the counterattacks come, and they will come, remember your strategy. Apply strategic deafness. Choose peace. Do not engage in the enemy's distractions. Keep walking in the divine flow of God's wisdom and watch as God fights your battles for you. You are not alone in this journey, and you are not meant to fight these battles on your own. God is with you, and His protection surrounds you. Keep your focus on Him, and you will continue to walk in victory. The journey you're on, chosen one, is not one that is unfamiliar to those who have walked before you. There is a deep, powerful truth in the experience of betrayal, silence, and the eventual divine vindication that follows. In this section, I want to share with you a real-life testimony, a story of a chosen one who endured betrayal, chose to remain silent, and ultimately allowed God to handle the situation. This story is not just one of suffering, but also of divine redemption and restoration. It is a powerful reminder that, no matter how unjust the situation may seem, God is always at work behind the scenes, orchestrating your elevation. There was once a chosen one who found themselves caught in a web of betrayal. The people they trusted, the ones they had poured their time, energy, and love into, turned on them. It wasn't just a small betrayal, it was deep, painful, and came from those who were once considered friends and allies. At first, the chosen one felt the intense sting of injustice. They wanted to shout, to defend their name, to expose the lies, to clear their reputation. The anger and frustration were overwhelming, and the need to react felt like a pressure that was hard to ignore. But instead of giving in to that impulse, the chosen one chose silence. They chose to trust God and allow Him to fight for them. In the midst of the betrayal, as the silence enveloped them, the chosen one did not remain passive. They didn't sit idly by, waiting for things to magically change. No, they remained vigilant in their faith. They used their silence as an anchor, choosing to remain in the peace of God and letting go of the need to justify themselves. Day by day, they trusted that God would handle the situation, knowing that their vindication was not in their own hands, but in God's. The emotional pain, the questions, the doubts, all of it was surrendered to God. They didn't need to explain themselves to anyone. They didn't need to convince anyone of their truth. They allowed God to be their defender. And in that silence, they found a peace that surpassed their understanding. As time passed, God began to move in ways that were beyond what the chosen one could have imagined. The betrayal, which initially seemed like something meant to break them, became the very thing that propelled them to a higher level. Instead of being crushed by the weight of the injustice, they were elevated. What others intended to use for their downfall was being transformed into the platform for their breakthrough. It wasn't long before the chosen one received a new job opportunity, one that was far better than the one they had left behind. This new position not only provided financial stability, but also opened doors for personal growth and professional development. The reward was beyond anything they could have anticipated, and it came in a way that only God could orchestrate. This story is not unique. It is a reflection of the divine principle that God will never allow your faithfulness, your silence, or your obedience to go unnoticed. He sees your pain. He hears your cries, and He is working behind the scenes to bring about your vindication. The world may not always understand why you choose to remain silent in the face of injustice, but God does. And He promises that what was meant to break you will be the very thing that elevates you. It's easy to get discouraged when you're in the middle of the storm, when the betrayal feels too much to bear, when you're tempted to defend yourself and prove your worth. But remember, chosen one, that your reward is not in the defense of your reputation. It is in the obedience to God's call. The promise of vindication is not just an empty hope, it is a guarantee. God's word tells us that He is a righteous judge, and He will fight for you. What others meant for harm, He will use for good. The betrayal, the lies, the manipulation, they will not have the final say. God is working all things together for your good. He is preparing a reward for you that is far greater than what you could ever achieve on your own. This is not the time to doubt or to question God's timing. It is the time to trust in His perfect plan, knowing that He is not only going to vindicate you, but also reward you beyond what you have ever imagined. God's plan for your life is far greater than anything the enemy could ever throw your way. What the enemy intended to use to derail you, God is using to build you. The silence you chose in the midst of betrayal is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength. It is a sign that you are mature enough to trust God, to step aside and let Him handle the fight. And because you have trusted Him, He will not leave you empty-handed. He will elevate you, He will promote you, and He will restore what was taken from you. In this season of your life, know this: divine vindication is on the way. What was meant to bring you down is about to become the catalyst for your elevation. Your silence has not gone unnoticed. Your obedience has not been in vain. God is preparing a reward for you, and the vindication you seek will come in a way that only He can deliver. You will look back and realize that the very betrayal that hurt you the most was the key to unlocking a door of opportunity and blessing. So hold on to this promise, chosen one. Keep walking in faith, keep choosing silence, and keep trusting God. Your reward is coming, and it will be far beyond what you ever expected. What others meant for harm, God will use for good. You are on the verge of the greatest breakthrough of your life, and this season of silence will be the very foundation for the success and blessing that God has in store for you. Keep your eyes on Him, stay anchored in peace, and trust that your vindication is already in motion. You are about to step into a new season of favor, opportunity, and divine promotion. Your best days are ahead of you, and they are coming faster than you think. Chosen one, in this moment, I invite you to release everything you've been holding on to: your need to defend yourself, your desire to justify your actions, and the weight of the hurt and betrayal you've carried. The battle you've been fighting is not yours to win. You have already done the hardest part. You've chosen silence, you've trusted God, and you've remained anchored in peace. But now, God is calling you to do something even more profound. He is calling you to surrender the rest of the fight to Him. Your arms are weary, your heart is heavy, and your spirit longs for rest. It's time to let go. It's time to hand over your defense to the one who is more than capable of fighting your battles. This is not a sign of weakness, but a powerful act of trust. The real victory comes not in your ability to defend yourself, but in your willingness to let God take over. Imagine, chosen one, standing in the courtroom of heaven. This is where the ultimate judgment takes place, where God Himself is your advocate, your defender. In this sacred space, you are called to mentally lay down your weapons, to let go of your pride and your need to be right, and to trust that God will handle everything. You no longer need to explain yourself, prove your innocence, or fight for your reputation. In this moment, you allow God to take full control. He is your defender. He sees the truth. He knows your heart. And He will make sure that the lies and the betrayal you've endured do not go unaddressed. The enemy may have thought he could trap you in a cycle of self-defense and anger, but he has underestimated the power of God's peace. As you stand in this courtroom, you are not fighting for yourself. God is fighting for you. The case is no longer in your hands. It is now in the hands of the divine judge, and He is always on the side of justice. Now, let us pray together for vindication. Father God, in the mighty name of Jesus, we come before You in this moment of surrender. We lay down our need to defend ourselves, our desire to fight for our reputation, and the hurt that we've carried. We surrender our case to You, knowing that You are the righteous judge, the defender of the brokenhearted, and the one who sees the truth in all things. We ask for divine protection, for peace to fill our hearts, and for the closing of this case in Your perfect timing. We declare that the enemy's plans will not prosper, and that You will bring justice to every situation where we have been wronged. We trust You, Lord, to fight for us, to vindicate us, and to restore what has been stolen. We choose silence, knowing that in our silence, You are working on our behalf. We walk forward in peace, confident that You are handling our defense. Now, chosen one, remember who You are. You are not just anyone. You are chosen, appointed, and set apart for a divine purpose. Everything you've been through, every betrayal, every injustice, every moment of silence, it has all been part of God's plan to shape you, refine you, and prepare you for the amazing future He has for you. You were born for this. You were born to walk in victory, to live in divine peace, and to trust God with everything. And as you walk in this peace, let this be your final affirmation. You are chosen. This is not a season of defeat, but a season of divine elevation. The betrayals that have hurt you will be the very stepping stones to the next level of your destiny. Now, as you walk in this victory, I encourage you to take action. Surrender your defense to God, choose peace, and walk in the confidence that He is handling every detail of your life. Know that God is on your side, and no weapon formed against you shall prosper. If this message has resonated with you, if you feel the stirrings of peace in your heart and the strength to surrender, I invite you to share it with someone who needs to hear it. Share the truth of your divine purpose and peace with others. And, as always, remember to subscribe to stay connected to this message of hope, peace, and victory. The journey is not over, chosen one. You are